All right, your Intermatic Time Clock is stopped. What do we do? So it's the one in this box. I don't have any room. We're tied in this fence, so the video won't be too good. So we've replaced the switches. First thing you want to do, see if those things quit working. I'm just going to tell you offhand things you can try. You see this, I get my wrench sometimes. This little piece will be spread. I just push them back together. Sometimes these wear out. You can replace them and get a new one. Sometimes the mechanism just goes bad. Even though if you look through this dial with a light, you can see the little mechanism gearbox spinning. You can always just set it on noon, come back tomorrow at a different time, or come back in 4 hours and see if it changed. This little bar is what the time you set for. So if you want to set the dial, you pull it and spin it and then let it click in. Check to see if that thing's moving first. If you want to make sure there's electrical to it, you look through here and see if the gears are moving. But if you see this, there's a pin. This is very simple. You just lift that pin up. Easier with two hands, but hold on. Pull the box out, and it's just held up by wires. So you see these little gears here? They're actually spinning. So we know that the mechanism's working, so there's something else wrong with the time clock. Another thing that can go wrong, you see this and this, the coppers, these are the contacts, these are the points. So when it's on, they're closed and electricity's going through it. Sometimes, it's really bizarre, but ants, I've seen it to where ants crawl through, and every time the point closes, it kills a couple ants. And you can actually just get a little stick, clean in there, a little fingernail file or something, clean in there, and it starts working again. This time we're going to go ahead and change the whole mechanism. You don't have to change this whole box. Even though it's gray and ugly, I don't like when there's all this other stuff wired into it. You see all that? Everything's running through the box. I don't want to do it. I just like a simple little box, so the homeowner can just have his ugly little box back. So we take off this little guard. That's the electric guard that keeps your fingers when you're pushing the off-on button left and right. It keeps you from touching these. It's 220. Those little coppers on the back, those, if there's two, it's 220. If there's only one, it's a 110 system. You need to make sure when you're going to buy this that you don't go get the cheap one that's only 110 when you need 220. So the first thing I'm going to do is it's in the off position, so the time clock doesn't have any power, but there is still power to these. You have lines and loads, so we don't need to learn all this. This isn't the university. You're not getting a degree. You're just trying to figure out how to fix your time clock. So we're going to go ahead and flip the breaker off, and we are going to go ahead and pre-loosen these 4 screws. I'm going to pre-loosen the 4 screws on the new one, and we'll go ahead and check that out. So it's an unboxing today. So we have unboxed the new system. So we look on the back, it's got the 2 sets of coppers. I can touch these. So that's 220. Got your clock, line and load, and we'll go ahead and turn the breaker off on the wall. Okay, so I loosened all the screws, and here's the trick. First, so you know, there's line and load. These white ones don't come off. That's the line. It's always on. So these 2 screws are always hot. These are the legs that are hot. They run the clock. So when the pump is off, the clock still has to run. So if you're hooking up like this outlet, it's got to be hooked up to one that's always on. I'm not worried about what any of these wires are coming in. If you don't want to worry about them, don't worry about them. The trick is, take with your camera, go ahead and take a picture of these so you see where the wires are all hooked up. And then what I do is slide it out nicely, and then just put all these wires back. So that one goes in this one, these 2 go in this one. I already loosened it, it's all ready. Look at that. Bam. You can clip it back in. Now we gotta tighten them all down. So you'll push them up, make sure they're tight. Push those up. If you have some greens, they're all connected together. Typically, if you're just setting up the box, it's going to be on this little green ground over here. So that's it. So let's go turn the breaker back on. All right, turned it on, pump's working. We are happy. Let's make sure the plugs are working. I'll turn this, remember the chlorine generator we hooked up? Lights are flashing, so the outlet's working. Turn that back off. Turn this off. We're gonna set the time switches so you have green on and off. First, we'll set the time, 4:30, 4:45, and then we want it to come on and go off, and we're done. Just loosen those screws. Slide it around, and you're good to go. All right, good luck. I hope that worked out for you. You just saved a couple $100. Take care. One more quick note. When you're tightening these little off-on screws, don't over-tighten them too much because you don't want them to slip. It's got a real pointy tip on it, so it digs in. But if you make this thing bend and spread this part out, it won't trigger the switch it's supposed to trigger. And secondary, we're gonna go ahead and put our safety device on here to keep you from touching the stuff. So anyway, we'll screw that on. It's got one little screw right here and we're good to go again. Take care. Bye.